What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new episode of the Pro-Black Blurred Kingdom podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different than what I typically talk about on this show. Usually I go into topics about pro-blackness or blurred stuff or some type of combination of both or some life advice. Today, I actually want to go into something related to writing. I want to talk a little bit about why I feel there aren't a lot of black male writers, why I became a writer, and why I think that black people who are writers should self-publish. I'm going to try my best to make this podcast episode pretty quick, but I really just wanted to switch it up and do something a little bit different. Honestly, I think there aren't a lot of black male writers for multiple reasons. However, I think that the central reason is black males typically aren't allowed to have a voice without heavy scrutiny or criticism from literally anyone in society. And from my perspective, that includes other black men as well too. The black man often is placed into one of two categories by white-dominated society, and everyone else who exists in it has or basically follows suit to this standard. We are either made to seem weak or buck-broken, quote-unquote, so that our strength and masculinity is not felt, or we're seen and pegged as angry, overbearing, or one of the new terms that I've heard that I see a lot of simps and a lot of these liberal divested women say are hoteps. A lot of the disrespect that goes on to black men is not only the most aggressive, but is also seldom discussed. I mean, we literally can't even speak up for ourselves or hold others accountable, which we are really good at doing, or talk about how we are affected and feeling without someone cutting us off, giving us some type of comparative statement to undermine what we are saying. An example of this is when someone says something to the effect of, black men are getting killed by the police left and right, and then some other moron comes in and says, black women are getting killed by police too, and when they go into hospitals, things happen to them. Now, don't get me wrong, neither statement is untrue, but it's the idea that one only says it to disregard the issues that black men face. Now, mind you, there are sisters who love us and will ride for us, and other brothers who care about each other as well too. So I don't want to make it sound like it's not a thing, but there is far too much disrespect to the black man. It's almost like a vitriolic attitude where we have, in a way, become the example of a villain and or a punching bag. I mean, you got coons out here saying black men are the white men of black society, and I believe the dude who I think wrote the article or made the statement about it was Charity Croft. I think that's his name. I mean, he says a whole lot of goofy liberal shit, but that was one where I was like, see, you are the problem, and you are a black man saying this shit. The disrespect is so heavy, which is why I try to tell black women, especially about this, that feminism is not a movement that's for them. Feminism has them feeling they need to separate themselves from black men, or as if there isn't a problem with them not having more black male and female relationships where the male's masculine and the woman is feminine. Think about it. White liberals are even going around allowing black women to believe that they are the future of black society, as if we have no part in that. I could break down my issues with that all day though, but I really want to talk about being a writer a bit more. I've been a great writer since I was 14 years old. But what people need to realize is my talent as a writer comes in my ability to storytell. People need to understand that there is a large difference between writer and storyteller. Virtually anyone who picks up a pen and can put words down on paper is a writer. And once you go to school, you learn to polish the way that writing sounds. Now, storytelling is a whole different monster. I have been a storyteller since I was about 5 years old, if I'm being honest, y'all. See, growing up, I was an only child, and I was an indoorsy kid. I liked artsy things and creative things, and I even remember having Hot Wheel cars back in the day and giving them different names and making storylines around it. I'll give you an example. Like, I had a blue car and a red Camaro-looking car or some shit, and I had them two at odds with one another, and the red car had this gang of other red cars and would challenge the blue car to a race. Then I would act all this out and have a racetrack and have the blue car and the red car racing each other. And the reason I bring this up is because it shows you that although I was nothing more than a kindergartner, I was already storytelling. I became a storyteller because I honestly didn't really feel heard too much growing up, though. I felt like when I would speak, I would get shunned, silenced, dismissed, and in some cases ridiculed, not just by outsiders, but sometimes by my own family. Writing was a great way for me to say all that I needed to say. Often, when you are in conversation with others, there's this dynamic of having to monitor a lot of different things, such as timing and attention spans and decorum and quantity and sometimes boundaries around the way that we respond to one another. To some people, those things are not important, but to me, they are, because I believe in creating constructive dialogue. Otherwise, my time could be spent better elsewhere. Now, don't get me wrong. I am always honest with folks when I speak with them, but I just enjoy writing more because I don't have to follow those types of rules as intensely. I get the freedom to put it all down on paper as much as I need and come back to it. It's like, hey, you don't want to hear me speak in person? That's cool. Just buy my book and pay me so I don't have to waste my breath trying to communicate shit properly to you. I like it better that way anyway. Long story short, I decided it was time to take all of these things and these thoughts that were in my head and get them onto paper for others to see and to learn from. I became a writer because after a while I had so many book ideas in my head, and it didn't make any sense for me to just keep these stories in my head or to not see them as entities that I could breathe life into. I knew that these stories could be the beginning of manifesting into new endeavors as well too. Interestingly enough, I didn't think from the perspective of a writer. I thought about it from the perspective of a businessman even. Why not create characters, stories, and series that represented me and my vision? That's one of the reasons why I would encourage black folks even to self-publish and not hire a publisher. We have to think about ownership, and we have to consider it from that standpoint. Yes, this will be a lot of work, and yes, I gotta get the word out myself, but the rewarding part will be to know that I have full ownership of this thing I bred life into. Think about it from that perspective. It's like having a baby. I'm going to raise it, and I want to raise it the way I want to, educate it the way I want to, feed it the way I want to. But consider what it would seem like if you decided just to get a traditional publisher. Just from the perspective of a person having a baby. This is what it looks like if you just do traditional publishing and not self-publishing. Imagine hiring someone to take care of a baby you birthed, send it to the schools that they want it to learn at as he or she grows up, feed it whatever diet that they want to feed it with, and then turn around and tell you you have limits on some of the things that you do with it when it comes to raising it, and turn and say that you have to share credit for the baby's creation, like they are a third pseudo parent or some shit like that. You sacrifice all that just so they can raise that baby just for a little bit of time. Well, y'all, that's what traditional publishing is essentially like. Self-publishing is the best way to be an owner and a boss in the writing world. It's the idea of creating your empire and having total freedom, or for the most part, almost total freedom over it. Black people are in desperate need of owning things. And black men especially should have a desire to have something of their own and feel like they are in control of some aspect of their life. The other thing is, you never know the impact the books you create will have on other black folks either. So when I self-published my first book, I knew it was really just the beginning of the brand of me. I wanted to create a myriad of books, but ultimately the goal was to entertain and to educate. And that's one thing our people need to recognize. We love to be entertained, but I figure if white people can put a little subliminal messages in media that black people and others enjoy, why can't I do the same thing? And it would be beneficial to my people. I write to help people, though, fall back in love with reading. And that is why I want to create several series that will make that dream happen. What a lot of people don't know about me is the day I put out my first book, I actually became two different things. I didn't just become an author, I also became a business owner. Anyone who is self-publishing, by the way, I would strongly encourage you to get an LLC and then make it almost like you are the publishing company if that is something that interests you. And then from there you can put out books if you want to start up an empire just like I did. I made the Cool Colas brand in order to take all of my ideas and show how they are a representation of me and what I like to do. I see that many people are into self-help and self-improvement books, which, you know, if that's your thing, that's cool. But not many people just have a general enjoyment to sit down and read a book because there are just too many distractions. I mean, we have the internet, we have YouTube, television, podcasting, and things like that. So there's never that thought process of wanting to just sit down and enjoy a book. I want people to find value, though, in reading so that hopefully they can create a visual as they skim through the pages of the books that I create. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all. The plan is to have my characters and stories as movies, video games, TV shows, collectibles, and theme park attractions, etc. But I want them to start off as book series that can grow into their own different paths. My feeling is, if J.K. Rowling can do that from writing Harry Potter on some damn napkins, I'm more than capable of doing the same damn thing. If you don't know, by the way, my name, which is Cool Colas, has a very interesting story. I may or may not have shared it with you all in a previous podcast, but I'm going to share it with you all now. I created the name Colas when I was 15 years old. And the reason why is because I had a Spanish teacher who wanted everyone in the class to come up with nicknames for themselves. I came up with Colas because I was like, well, I can just take the N, the I, and the H out of my name, and then I got something that sounds Hispanic. Because really, I didn't really identify with Hispanic culture, so I tried to make it as close as possible to my name so the origin of me was still there. Then later I found out that the cola nut fruit is a rare fruit in Africa, and I thought to myself, it's no wonder how that name tied into my genetics coincidentally, and it's had stuck with me ever since. Mind you, red is also my favorite color, so I was like, I felt like it was just meant to be. I stuck the word cool in front of it though, because I thought the origins of how I came up with the name were cool. Plus for me, cool represents an individual who is amiable and personable, interesting, and willing to always be himself authentically. Cool Colas took on somewhat of a persona of its own. Lastly, I want to talk about book signings, and I want to talk about my turnout and give you all a little bit of insight on what I did there. So, the reason why one does a book signing is because book signings help writers to put out their, not to showcase their books, but put out, like do a promotion, a promotional type of thing for the book that they're launching. And it's a good event to network with people and then connect with people maybe you haven't seen in a while, and you kind of feel like you that guy or you that girl, you know, like you sitting there, you signing books for people, autographing books and shit. People are buying books from you. It's just it's a good networking, and it's a very entertaining experience, and you get the opportunity to kind of showcase and sell yourself and do what you want with it, you know. So I did 3 book signings last year, and 2 of them were in person. The last one was online. One of them was in the city called Wayland, which, if you don't know Michigan very well, it's the halfway point between the city of Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids, Michigan, which, again, if you all don't know the map very well when it comes to Michigan, that's in West Michigan. So Kalamazoo, Southwest Michigan, Grand Rapids is just West Michigan, and Wayland is over by where the casino that's between the 2 of them is at. So I had my book signing basically there because I had people who lived in Kalamazoo like me and people who were from Grand Rapids coming to the book signing to come, I guess, support me. And it was a nice little venue, and the hotel attendants even came through and took pics with me. They came through and they actually bought some books. That was pretty cool. I never met them before. They just came in and said, like, hey, we want to support, which again was cool. I also had one in the Detroit area in this city called Northville. And if you all don't know the Detroit area very well, that's like a suburb of Detroit. Northville is. It's about like 15 to 20 minutes outside of it, and I decided to do one over there because I have a lot of people who support me and show me love over in the Detroit area. And then my people, that's actually where I'm from, is the Detroit area. My people still live over there, so a lot of my people came through to support me as well, and I thought that was really, really dope. And again, I did the same thing over there. The clerk came and showed me love as well too at this place as well, bought a book from me and said, thank you for supporting the hotel, and I'll buy you a book and all this other stuff, and that was cool. And the idea was that with all this, I wanted to put my book out because ultimately I wanted to show different folks that I'm not just a writer, I'm an overall creative. And I did a lot of really cool shit at these at both of these in-person book signings as well too. I'll give you an example. I had a big poster, a big ass poster that I created. My wife helped me work on it actually, and it talked about a lot of different stuff with me. It talked about my beliefs and ideals, just as a lifestyle, my lifestyle beliefs, my thought processes when it came to writing and some of the projects that I wanted to work on. I talked about my love for comics. I talked about my vision and the way that I see things going in the future and whatnot. And I wanted to show that my brand essentially was nothing more than an extension of me. Now, on the back of the board, I made these computerized designs of comic characters for the comic brand that I've been creating. And what it really became was a talking piece for people when they saw these characters and wondered what their stories were. And I had all types of other paraphernalia that people could buy at this book signing as well too. So it wasn't just people coming through and buying my new book, but they were buying other things that were related to my brand or were branded based on the book. So for example, I had 3 types of Cool Cola style cups. I had Cool Colas t-shirts with my symbol on it. I had Cool Colas mask, and that was for those who wanted a high quality mask if that was their thing during the pandemic. I had Cool Colas bookmarks, and those were the premium ones. Well, they're called premium Team Colas bookmarks. And then I had Rim bookmarks for the actual book, Rim, which was the book that I was essentially trying to market at that time. Rim Curse of a Billionaire. By the way, y'all, anybody who's listening to this podcast, you can still get these things if you want them. All you have to do is send me a DM on Instagram at Colas Creative, or you can go to my website and you can shoot me an email, and you can also, when you go to my website, just get a visual for what you want, and you can place an order. And once I check it and it gets back to me, I can set something up for you. So if you want to see what I had during the book signing and what I got now, you can always go to my website. I have a page that allows you to kind of look at the stuff that I have between the t-shirts, between the book, between the bookmarks, the cup, and all this other stuff. And pricing is there as well too for those of you all who want to know that. And you can get some stuff. I very much encourage you to get you some Cool Colas paraphernalia, you feel me? And I invited everyone who I can think of who has been following me and supporting me over the years and my vision for this brand. So both those events were just really good events, like the in-person ones, because it was a good turnout with, like, you know, re-meeting with like people who I hadn't seen in a while, but also like, you know, being able to chop it up a little bit with my supporters and all this other stuff. And that was just real cool. It was just a real cool time. Online signing was good too, and it was a good turnout. We had some really good discussions about a lot of different stuff. I got to talk to people about my brand and my vision and what I've been doing. A lot of people again showed me love. People came through and bought some books. People came through and like placed some orders and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool too, and that was very enjoyable. And I did like a little Zoom thing where different people came on and spoke and kind of gave their 2 cents on different things and whatnot, and that was cool. And yeah, I just had a good turnout really on all 3. And I want to try to do some more things this year, but I'm still trying to work through that and whatnot and see what I can get done. I've been in the process, y'all, of at this point writing my 2nd book, and I want to try to get it written as soon as possible so that I can get an editor to kind of take a look at that, and then maybe start on another book as well too. So by the time I do another book signing, I have a couple little things that I can kind of put out there, and hopefully like this Rim Curse of a Billionaire book, I can try to get that into libraries. But again, I need to kind of work on some things and figure some things out, and eventually we'll get there. We'll get it all together. But all right, y'all, I just wanted to give you all that quick podcast episode for you all to enjoy. This is for you writers out there who really want to kind of know a little bit about me, a little bit about my story and why I do what I do, and just a few pointers and tips on self-publishing and writing if that's your thing, kind of like it's my thing. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna let y'all go and do y'all thing. I'm gonna go do my thing. I got a lot of stuff I gotta take care of, and we will be definitely talking soon. Once again, I have new episodes every Friday, so continue to tune in and you'll hear everything that I got to say. So I hope y'all have a good day, and I'll be talking to y'all soon. Peace.